I'm going to start with a little bit of a challenge for you guys, okay? Can you break the record for most comments by one person on a video? That record is 58. I want to know which of you guys can break that in the comment section for me down below. You could spam whatever you want, how many times you want, or you know what? You can just send 58. Jaden Daniels is the best. Coming at you first for our live mailbag. All of these questions came from our Tuesday live show. So if you guys weren't there and you want to be there next time, hit that sub button. We'll be live again on Tuesday. Jasmine Gray, one of our real ones here on the channel, says, #Commanders. I have a question for you, Joey. It is, Washington Commanders will trade Myles Garrett and help our Commanders defense. We'll get to the NFC East Division crown champs and the Super Bowl. Jasmine, I think what you're asking me is, if they trade for Myles Garrett, or will they trade for Myles Garrett, does that mean they will get to the Super Bowl next year? I think it could help. I think Myles Garrett is one of the few. I think there's like 5 elite pass rushers in the game right now. Okay, I think you look at Max Crosby. I think you look at Nick Bosa, Micah Parsons, and I think you look at Myles Garrett. Maybe there's only 4, okay? But he is for sure one of them. The things that he's been able to do in his career. And guys, like, this defense was fine. This pass rush was fine, but Myles Garrett would come in and immediately be an absolute game wrecker. Guys like him, guys of his caliber, guys of his status, they don't just change the trajectory of games, but they change the trajectory of seasons. And when you're coming off a year when you just gave up 50 points in the NFC Championship game to your biggest rival in the Philadelphia Eagles, to get a guy like Myles Garrett on your team, I don't care what it costs to get him. I don't care what it costs to sign him after that. You have almost $100 million in cap space. You do that, you get better, okay? Next up, we got Yo Boy Football Elite. #Commanders, are there any wide receivers that you think will get on the free agent market? Great question, Yo Boy. I'm really curious to see how this entire T. Higgins situation shakes out, because for teams that need a wide receiver, really the only one ahead of Washington that has more cap space is the Patriots. But also, you got to ask yourself, if you're T. Higgins and you've come from a championship roster in Cincinnati, do you want to go to play for the Patriots, even if they are excited about Mike Vrabel, even if they are excited about Drake May, or would you rather come to a team and have Terry McLaurin in the same backfield, same wide receiver room as you, play for a team who just went to a conference championship, who can still pay you a lot of money? I think that's a guy that's on the Commanders' radar. I think there's a possibility he comes to Washington. Other names to look for, I'm really curious what happens with Mike Godwin. I think Josh Palmer would be a great wide receiver 2 or wide receiver 3 on this roster. I think that's his entire career, is to be a big-bodied wide receiver 2, wide receiver 3 type that just catches everything, okay? I think that's a guy to look for as well. Next up, we got Allie Foote. What's up, Allie? Big Commanders fan. Should the #Commanders sign Khalil Mack? Yeah, I would love it. I really would. I think Khalil Mack has a lot left in the tank. I think Khalil Mack is a guy that for his production in the past would be relatively, I don't want to say cheap because he's coming off of injury, but cheaper than he would have been if he wasn't coming off an injury. And I think he's a guy that can come into this defense with Dan Quinn in day one, be an instant impact player. Now, will he have the same amount of impact that Myles Garrett has? No. Would he have the same kind of impact that a guy like, I don't know, Trey Hendrickson, Max Crosby, if you traded for them? No. But he would be a solid pass rusher on every down situations, and I think he'd do great things for this defense in 2025. So I'm going to ask you guys. Y'all asked me, my turn to flip it around. Should Washington sign Khalil Mack? Give me a yes. Give me a no in the comment section down below. Up next, we got Fernand J. Biz 21. What's up, Fernand? #Commanders Report by Chat Sports. I like getting that all in there. 29th pick, I would say offensive line. We need to protect JD5's blind side. Fernand, producer Coop and I were actually just talking about this in the middle of the segments, but I agree that they need to do that in round 1. But I don't think they need to do that at 29. If you're going to do that, then I think that's something you trade up to get one of those really, really great tackles. But it's really rare to see solid top 10 tackles, top 5 tackles go that late in the first round. Those guys are usually off the board within the first 15 picks, okay? And that's saying like at max. So I don't think tackle is something that Washington is going to go with in the draft. I think Ronnie Stanley's a big name to look at. I think that the Commanders can outbid Baltimore by 1,000 to get Ronnie Stanley on this team. And then I think they look to edge rusher, wide receiver, or interior offensive lineman in the first couple rounds of this draft. Great question, though, Fernand. Before we get into the other questions on today's mailbag, I got to give a massive shout out to the awesome sponsor of today's video, and that is our great friends over at Game Time. It is the only ticketing app I have on my phone. It's the only ticketing app you should have on your phone, and that's because it makes buying tickets so dang easy. And you know what, guys? It is almost time for the big game, and I promise you there's nothing that can quite compare to the rush and excitement of being there. And if you want to have that memory for the rest of your life, that's where Game Time can help out. At Game Time, it has an awesome feature. It's called Game Time Picks, and that makes getting tickets to see your favorite teams play live even easier. The tool highlights the best deals, including great and amazing deals with the highest value seats at the time. For some events, Game Time Picks also identifies a super deal, which is the best seat value in the venue. So take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code CHATSPORTS for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account, redeem code CHATSPORTS for $20 off. The link to this promo is in the comments and description of today's video. Download Game Time today. What time is it? It's game time. We got one from Eric saying, #Commanders, what position group needs the most help this offseason? Great question, Eric. And I'd say there's a good bit of them. I'd say, like I just said with Fernand's, offensive line is a big one. I think cornerback needs to get taken a big look at this offseason. I think wide receivers. I think edge rushers. There's a lot of, funny enough, for a team that just went to a conference championship, I still think there's a lot of holes to plug in this roster, okay? Jack Sperry and I said this entire season that this roster was overperforming for the talent level that it had. Okay, but I think with a young quarterback, it starts in the offensive line. We got Demarius Young coming up next. #Commanders, if we don't get T. Higgins, is Deebo still an option? Demarius, great question. He is. The good thing about Deebo is it would be relatively cheap. Like he wouldn't cost very much to sign or trade for. Wouldn't be overly expensive with his contract. But, like, I don't know if I want Deebo, man. I don't know if you saw the picture that was circulating around Twitter this past week. I think it was on Wednesday of him in an Eagles jersey, and he was kind of looking a little chubby, okay? And I don't know about you guys, but I don't want my wide receivers looking like they got a little bit of baby fat on them. He's one of the worst separators in the NFL. Sure, he's dynamic with the ball in his hands, in screen plays, coming out of the backfield as a running back, but I think he's lost a little bit of his luster over the past couple of years, and he proved that when he was in an offense where he had to be the number one guy, he couldn't do that, okay? And I'm not saying that he has to do that in Washington, but I just don't know if I'd love Deebo on this team. If you love the Commanders, then do me a favor. Go ahead and hit the thumbs up button on today's video. It helps us out a ton. It's free for you to do, and I don't know what more I could say to convince you to do something. It doesn't cost you an absolute thing. So if you haven't already, go ahead, hit that thumbs up button. We got another question coming in from Nico H. Sucks. I couldn't agree more with you, and I don't even know the question. #Commanders, should we trade for Micah Parsons? I'm guessing this is a Dallas-based viewer with the Nico and the Micah Parsons question, but I'll answer. I don't know. Like, yes, that'd be awesome, but you have to give up a lot to get them, right? You have to give up at least 1 first-round pick, probably 2 first-round picks, and then you'd have to give up, you know, a couple of players as well that you probably really like on that roster. And Micah Parsons is a game-changing defensive end. He's a game-changing edge rusher. You can use him in so many different situations, so many different scenarios. But the one thing and one question I have against Micah is he's kind of shown in his first couple seasons of the NFL, the later it gets into the year, the more he disappears, okay? The last 2 years, after week 12, he's only gotten 2.5 sacks. And that's in 7 games played, and that's in 8 games played. okay? And so I don't know if that's a guy that you want to bring on this team for as much as it would cost to trade for him, and then as much as it would cost to pay him if he's just going to disappear when you need him most in January. And so I think it'd be cool to do, but like also in the same breath, it costs a lot, and I think you take a chance at edge rusher in this upcoming draft. We got an upcoming one from Spare Dog Football Analysis. Jack Sperry himself saying, "Hey, Joey, doing a great job," with the clap emojis. Thank you so much, Sperry. Miss you. Hope you're having fun in NOLA and don't get too crazy on Bourbon Street. Alrighty, that'll be it for our today's show of our Commanders Mailbag, live coverage of your Washington Commanders, live questions, I should say. If you guys want to be in our next live show, make sure to hit that sub button so you don't miss a moment on your favorite team in burgundy and gold.